Um, so from a show of hands, how many of you know someone with diabetes? Maybe you know about pricking themselves with a needle to check their blood sugar very often, or injecting insulin after a meal. That part doesn't sound too bad, but some of the complications that go along with diabetes are pretty life-threatening. From the American Diabetes Association, some of them include glaucoma, nerve damage, which may lead to amputation, high blood pressure and possibly heart attack, hearing loss, kidney disease, even stroke. What if I told you there was only one possible cure for diabetes? Answer being stem cells. Stem cells are pluripotent progenitor cells, which means that they have the capability to divide into any other cells in the body. As a bio major, the last 4 years of my life have been wasted studying the cell and its functions. So today I would like to talk to you about stem cells, what exactly they are, current research involved with stem cells, and what exactly that great controversy is going on in the country regarding stem cells. So as I said before, stem cells are pluripotent progenitor cells, so we'll take a little deeper look into what exactly that means. All living things are composed of cells. The human body is made up of trillions of them. Stem cells are the mother cells which give rise to the other cells in the body. So you have muscle cells, fat cells, brain cells, skin cells, everything is cells. Where do they come from? The stem cells. Stem cells, sometimes you'll hear the term unspecialized. You can think of this as sort of a blank canvas. Under certain conditions within the body, stem cells will change from unspecialized to specialized. And now with the research, they're looking at conditions which they can do that in the lab, not just in the body anymore. Let's look at the example of the skin. So everybody knows that this top layer of skin that you can see is dead cells flaking off regularly. But where do the cells come from? You're not just losing cells or skin cells indefinitely and then you're left with nothing when you're old. The deepest layer of the epidermis is composed of stem cells, and they're dividing regularly, pushing up the cells on top of them. Eventually, those cells which are at the bottom get pushed to the top, they die, flake off, and the process is just going on and on daily. So now that you can see stem cells play an important role in the normal, everyday ongoings of our body, let's look at some of the current research that's being undertaken. It's taking place all over the world, and some of the different flavors of stem cells that you may hear, we'll talk about now. First are probably the most important, called embryonic stem cells. These have the capability to divide into the widest array of cells. There are also hematopoietic cells, stem cells, which are involved with blood cells and immune system cells. Mesenchymal stem cells, which will divide into things with your bones and cartilage and tendon, and then neural stem cells, which will divide into things like nerves and brain cells and stuff like that. There are also others, but those are the four main players that you'll hear about. These different lineages means that the possible treatment that stem cells may provide in the future is very vast. Some of the things include spinal cord injury, eye diseases, Parkinson's disease, and arthritis. One study that was pretty interesting involved deaf gerbils, and they took human embryonic stem cells and injected them into their ears, and they took and grew successfully, and later on those deaf gerbils were actually able to register sound. Another study involved patients with age-related macular degeneration, which is the leading cause of vision loss in Americans over the age of 60. They injected stem cells into these males' eyes, and they actually grew and reported improved vision. Now, with these two particular studies, a couple of problems which are analogous to a lot of the stem cell publications that you'll hear about. For the deaf gerbil study, they didn't really report on how well they could actually hear. You know, the gerbils are just looking at their brains and seeing if they can now register sound. What does this mean for a human? Could we actually be able to hear precise sounds? The record player, would we be able to actually hear the different notes in the music? Would it all be muffled? You know, we just don't really know. And for the eye study, there's only 2 patients involved. So you wouldn't really go out treating people after just 2 successful cases. Stem cell research, however, is not just limited to testing out areas of the body that we can inject stem cells into. They also look at the mechanism involved in going from that unspecialized or blank canvas cell to a specialized cell with implications for cancer and birth defects. Also, studying the genes involved in this mechanism could help with different ways of getting stem cells. They're trying to take, you know, just an already specialized cell, say a skin cell, and make it go backwards, going from specialized to unspecialized. So by studying stem cells, we may actually be able to do that in the future. These are just a couple of published studies involving stem cells. The bank of knowledge is growing daily. Although there are some problems with these findings, you know, there's going to be problems with every science article that's published. It's the beauty of science. There's always going to be someone out there to nitpick at something. Next, we're going to go into the controversy regarding stem cells. So embryonic stem cells, which are able to develop into the widest array of cells in the body, are taken from human embryos, which are a few days old. And then they're cloned so that they can have a bigger bank of stem cells to work with. The controversy, Christina Hug of Eurostem puts simply, it forces us to choose between 2 moral principles, the duty to prevent or alleviate suffering and the duty to respect human life. Former President George W. issued an executive order in 2007. One of the points in the executive order, he basically limited stem cell research, limited the funding on them, limited the type of stem cells that you can take, the lines that we talked about earlier, he limited those. One of the points in the order reads, the destruction of nascent life for research violates the principle that no life should be used as a mere means for achieving the medical benefit of another. This is in 2007. President Obama issued another executive order in 2009, pretty much revoking all that. The title of said policy is Removing Barriers to Responsible Scientific Research Involving Human Stem Cells. Basically allows for more funding, a lot more freedom involved in the research and lines that are taken. Diane Beeson, she wrote an article. One of the quotes that I took from it is, egg harvesting involves drugs that have not been false.